Hey y'all, it's the 1st of November, so you know what that means. It's Christmas! Not really. I am praying that the neighbours don't look through the window because it is far too early for our gingerbread man here. But anyone who crafts will know and will testify that now is crunch time. If you're going to be doing crafts as Christmas gifts, you have to have had them started by now. We literally put away Halloween and we start crafting Christmas. And that's exactly what we're going to do in this video. This year I want to do some advent calendars for some friends and nieces and nephews and things, which gives me the extra deadline that this now needs to be done before the start of December. Fingers crossed, by the time you see this, I have succeeded in that. So the plan is, we're going to do some advent calendars, specifically some from the Sew Advent Calendars from Debbie Shore. There is the Santa Express pattern in here that I absolutely adore. And that one I specifically want to do for a nephew I've got down in Liverpool who's got a little baby brother or sister on the way. And I think it'd be really nice for him to have something each day to do with his mum and dad that's just with him, so that it's something special whilst baby is brand new and fresh. In addition to that, there are some other advent calendars I want to make, and I want to do some stockings and possibly some gift bags and stuff. I'm going to kind of wing a certain amount of this. The key objective though is to use up my Christmas fabric. Every year I inevitably pick up in the January sales Christmas fat quarters or fabric going cheap, and then I kind of forget about it, and then we hit this time of year and I'm like, oh, I wasn't really planning on making something Christmassy as Christmas gifts, so I sort of tuck them away, and then guess what? More in the January sale. So I have an embarrassing amount of Christmas fabric and fat quarters, and yeah, I really just want to try and get rid of that this year. So let's start on the one project that I'm positive on, and that is the Santa Express. And after that, we'll just kind of wing things. So buckle in, pray we don't run out of time, and enjoy the Christmas chaos. So the first one we're going to do is the train, the Santa Express here. And this pattern calls for half a yard of the red, half a yard of the blue, quarter of the yard of the green, and some single-sided fusible fleece. So rather than using a separate fleece and a separate red fabric, I have a red fleece. And for the green, I'm going to use this fun candy cane print. And for the blue, I'm actually just going to use this nice grey sort of bauble Christmas print. I don't think we'll see a lot of it because it's mostly for these sort of thin strips on the top and the chimneys, but we'll sort of see how it goes. But I want something that's sort of a bit more tonally cool because this is getting very bright. But yeah, let's get started on it. What's nice about this one is it just gives you the sizes for the squares to cut rather than pattern pieces, so it should be fairly quick to put together. So I'm going to get all the bits cut out and then we'll get on to assembly. There was a deceptive number of pieces in this project, but safe to say I managed to get everything cut out that I wanted. So at the moment I've just laid the pieces on top of each other roughly. So these are folded in half because they'll make the pocket. We just put a wee stitch down the middle to make the two pockets. And then for the lining, I didn't have enough grey to make 10 of these squares, so I've just got a white, but I don't think that's it's not gonna be visible because I'll put that to the back. But yeah, looking forward to seeing how this all comes together. So in the book, the next step is assembling this front cart. So let's get on to that. Advent calendars as we think of them are far more modern than I expected, and they originate from Germany. Auld Lang is credited as producing the first printed advent calendar in 1908, And this was because he was inspired by a childhood memory of his mother providing a countdown calendar made from small candies on pieces of cardboard. He's also the one who created the chocolate advent calendar in 1926. What I also found interesting was a little comment that during World War II, because cardboard was rationed, they had to halt the production of these calendars. And after the war, the tradition continued to grow in popularity, eventually becoming a worldwide phenomenon that we all know. So the book says that these need to be glued on. I'm not sure that's going to hold up, so I'm going to do a wee test one on one of the carriages, and if I'm not happy with how it turns out, I'm going to stitch them on instead. But first of all, I think the train needs some wheels, so to the button box. This was a great stash buster for these large buttons I've never really had much need for. Then came out the glue gun, and first of all I got the wheels stuck down, including these little white buttons that I thought really brought out the wheels. And I'm pleased to say that the glue did hold the numbers really well down, so I didn't have to stitch them individually in the end, which was a great time saver. I then used some black ribbon on the back just to join everything together and to create the look of a train track. And that was this done, and I was so pleased with how my Polar Express came out. We are one project down, guys, and it's in the post. Win. I am going to take a break from advent calendars and do some Christmas stockings. They're really quick, they're a nice little palette cleanse, and it's literally like a sock. Like that's the pattern piece there, guys. These are so easy, like conveniently on Christmas paper. And I know, I said I was going to bust through my Christmas stash, but like, you gotta know your audience, okay? I'm from a spooky family. We love spooky. My friends love spooky. So I might have found some trick or sweet on clearance. So we're going to do some spooky stockings to start off with. A little palette cleanse from the oversaturation of Christmas. And then I will also do some more traditional Christmassy ones for some other family members and friends. But I just, honestly, I saw this. It's got like little pumpkin lollipops and stuff and couldn't resist. Like, these are going to make really cute stockings for my spooky friends and family. So we're going to start with that. I'll explain how we do the stockings along the way. And then I'm just going to get my head down and do a stack of them, which I'll just sort of chip damage at sewing wise over the course of the next couple of days. So yeah, let's just get on with it. If you're looking for a beginner-friendly Christmas pattern, I really do recommend stockings. You literally just need to cut 2 lining pieces and 2 outside pieces, and that's it. Nice and easy, great stash buster, and really effective. So that's all the bits cut out. So we've got 5 pink sets and 5 black sets. Now I want 2 to be black with the pink cuff, and then the rest are going to be pink with the black cuff. And the key thing there is that I've had to reverse it. So you can see, like on this one here, it's the right way round, the print. So if it's a stocking is this way, that print's the right way round. And then its matching lining piece, the bows are upside down. And over here we've got the bows are the right way around, but the cupcakes are upside down. And the reason for that is that when we fold over that cuff, that'll be the bit that's visible, it'll actually turn the right way around. So the first step is going to be to stitch one outside piece to the lining piece. And the key thing here is the toes have to point in the same way. And what I mean by that is if I grab that lining piece, there we are. So I'm going to sew these bits together so you can see there, toes pointing towards me,
toes pointing towards me. And I'm going to stitch just along here, first of all. And I'm going to do that for all of them. So that's going to take a little minute. So I've got here 2 sides of the one sock. You see how the toes are facing each other. So on each side, the toes face the same way. And then on the flip side, they are now facing the other toe. So when we lie them, that one on top of that one, right sides together, toes will point in the same way. Now what we now need to do is put in the tab. And I've got this marked on here. So the tab goes on the lining. And I'm going to pin that facing in. The black on the black is not the most obvious, but I think it picks up well enough. So that's going to go there. And we're now going to place these right sides together, like so. And I'm just going to take a little moment to pin it all neatly together, just so that it's not shifting around tons. Yes, I did go with another fabric here. This pink is so thin, I could see the boo through it, so I ended up flatlining it. So my key thing here is I want to join up, this join here wants to line up on both sides. So we're going to pin that there and there. And then I'm going to put a pin in each of the toes just to hold it all in place whilst we're sewing it. Get it really smoothed out and looking nice. So I'll quickly just show you that. So I've got a pin in the toe. We've pinned the 2 seams here. Under here I have the ribbon pinned on the lining, and again that toe is pinned. And what we're going to do is stitch from about here all the way round, all the way up, round again and down, and then stop, leaving a gap like yay that we can then turn it right side out from. So I'm going to pin the rest of them and then get these onto the machine.
Apparently we have Germany to thank for again when it comes to a common Christmas tradition. Everyone, I think, is aware of the concept of St. Nicholas helping the poor by putting money in the stockings that were sort of drying by the fire, and this mixed with European gift-giving traditions is what's evolved into leaving the stocking out for Father Christmas to fill.
Guys, these are so stinking cute. I love how these have come out. Got my little boo, got our little sweeties and cupcakes. So I will have to make some actual Christmassy ones, but I will save you the bother of watching the process and show you what I came up with in a moment. Really pleased with how all of my stockings have turned out. I think I've managed to get a really good variety in different ones. We've got my little Scotty dogs that I'm super pleased with, and of course my nice spooky ones. I had more Christmas fabrics than I remembered. I had completely forgotten about these penguins, and I know the perfect home for my little Christmas penguins. So overall, super pleased with how those have all come out. And what I'm now going to do is go back to the advent calendars. What I've got is these. I've got 2 of these. Whee! That I picked up in a clearance sale at Hobbycraft. I want to say 2, maybe 3 years ago. And what I want to try is doing like a cross stitch on it to spell out Merry Christmas. I have done the math, to how to spell Merry Christmas with 24 spaces, which took me far longer than I care to admit. So I've got 2 of these. One, I'm going to try the cross-stitch Merry Christmas. The second one, I'm just going to kind of wing it based on how the first one goes. But that's the plan for the next project. That'll be a nice sort of evening slow burn to just chip damage at, because the letters don't take too long to do. And I've got a whole bunch of really nice Christmas alphabets in various magazines. So whilst I'm pushing on with that in the evenings, I am going to go back to the advent calendar book and pick out another advent calendar to sew on the machine. So let me just grab that and I'll show you which one I'm thinking of. So the plan for my next advent calendar that I'm going to sew is going to be the quick cones from the Sew Advent Calendar book. And I've made similar in the past. I did like little Easter cones years and years ago. But these ones have like a nice like little fold to them that looks really sweet. So that's what we're going to do next from here. And then I'm also going to dig out some nice Christmassy alphabets. And my next evening project is going to be these guys. So let's get cracking. So this project calls for 50 6-inch squares. I've got a good stack of Christmassy fabrics left. I do want it to look cohesive. So my plan is to start with the 25 sort of main fabrics and then I can figure out lining from there. So I'm just going to have to wing it a little bit. But we'll see how it goes. I've got good confidence. I mean, Christmas fabrics kind of all go with Christmas fabrics at the end of the day. So we'll just figure it out. I really quite like these gingerbready ones. And we'll, yeah, I'll keep you posted on how that goes.
For my colour palette, I went with red, green and gingerbread with a little splash of blue. My first step was to try and cut out as many of those squares that I needed out of the fabrics I particularly liked, and then basically kept a running tally so that I was prioritising the colours I really wanted, but also trying to keep a mix so that I didn't just have all red or just have predominantly green. And I think I managed to get quite a good balance.
Okay, so I've got my 25 sets of pairs. And I've tried to make sure that my colours don't match, so my greens aren't with a green, reds aren't with a red, and I'll keep an eye out for that as I'm sewing them together. My next step is to put them face together, and I'm going to sew along one edge and then down, and then after that we basically fold it open, but I'll show you that once I've got some of these stitched. So I've got here all of my squares. I've done my stitching along one edge and the bottom. The next step is technically to open them up like yay, and then sew this long edge, leaving a gap so that I can turn it right side out. The idea is going to be that those two edges will sew up like that, and that'll make the cone. That edge is going to flop down that way, so the cone's going to roughly look like that on them all, which I think is going to be really cute. So first of all, I'm going to press them flat as squares, and then I'm going to work out which side I want as my lining and which side I want to have on the outside, because that'll dictate which side I leave a opening on.
These did assemble really quickly and were a really fun little project to do. As you can see, I've just stitched down the side, leaving that gap open, and then turned it around. The fiddliest bit was getting those points out. I did use a chopstick in the end to try and get the points nice and neat. And then once I was happy with that, I then machine stitched the opening shut. I'm not too worried about the aesthetic of that on the inside. It's just going to be on the inside of the bunting, so I was quite happy to do that on the machine. I then turned it all right sides out, and voila! I then rinsed and repeated this for the following 24 cones, which did take quite a while, but not as long as you'd have expected. As an aside, this was a great stash buster if you're looking for that kind of project. I used up a load of fat quarters, and just with it being so colourful, it was really fun to make, and just seemed to kind of do itself, to be honest. I had so much fun with this one. Whilst all of the scraps were out, I had a stroke of genius and decided to cut small squares of all of the random scraps. This was then put onto one of the pre-made advent calendars along with some of my scrap ribbons, and the idea here was just to do a bit of a quick win project and use up some of the odds and ends and make something with a slightly lower skill level, but also at the same time something that aesthetically looked like great fun and was also really fun to make.
So I've had a dig through my back catalogue and I've got here issue 338 from November 2023, and it's for this sort of sweeties themed alphabet, which I really like. Now with the advent calendar here, I had originally intended that I would stitch directly onto this, but there's not a lot of space in the pockets. I think that's going to be a bit of a pain. So what I'm going to do is stitch out my alphabet on the Aida and then just sort of stitch down the Aida, a wee running stitch, so that will secure it onto the actual pocket. I think it'll be neater, it will definitely be significantly easier, and will look really nice. When I did the math on this, the first 4, the middle 2 and the last 4 technically are blank. So for those ones, I'm going to just pull out some of the fun different sweets from on here, and I'll put them on those empty pockets just to keep it looking cohesive and not empty. So I'm going to pick out my colours now for the fabric, for the Aida threads, and get cracking on with that. So I've marked out the sort of rough squares that I want on a lot of my scrap pieces. I've picked out the greens I want, so that'll be the main letter, the outline, and then this here is all the sort of scrappy odds and ends left over from kits. So I'm going to try and burn through a ton of that as well and make this a little bit of a scrap buster. So my plan is to put on a podcast and just start chipping away at this over the next little bit.
Wouldn't it be amazing if I could actually stitch this fast in real life? Weirdly, I find it faster for me to stitch in a hoop than just holding the Aida like this. Let me know if I'm the odd one out, it would be interesting to know. This was a great wee scrap buster though for all those random bits from kits. I used all of those for the different candies and stuff, whilst still maintaining those greens for the actual letters to keep it cohesive.
So we're officially down 3 advent calendars. I've got my lovely cone bunting. I finished decorating the pre-made one with just the little scraps of fabric, which has turned out really nice. I also figured I could Sharpie the little wooden numbers to add some more colour contrast, and I'm really pleased with how that's come out. My little train advent calendar has choo-chooed its way down to the other end of the country, and looking forward to getting feedback on how that's received. In the meantime, I am still pushing on with the Merry Christmas cross stitching. As it's taking about an hour per letter, that's my now evening project. So when we're just listening to a book or a podcast in the evening, just winding down, I'm just chip damaging at that. Very confident I'll have it done in time. I'm at the I now, so I've just got the this to do and a couple of like lollipops and stuff for the letters that are kind of missed, though the squares, I should say, that I kind of missed. Now, I was hunting through the loft to sort of organise fabric for my next project, not a Christmas one, and I found 2 rolls, not one, 2 rolls of this Hessian star fabric, and I don't remember buying this. The label says the range, so I've obviously picked this up in the sale, but I've 2 rolls of 2 meters each, and I'm like, that will be perfect for like one of the hang on the door type advent calendars, or maybe some more sort of bunting style. I'm not 100% sure. I am going to go back to my Sew Advent Calendars book and get some inspiration. So whatever I decide, I will bring you guys along for. And yeah, we're coming to the end of the Christmas crafts. We've got the stockings done, nearly done with the Advent calendars. I've bought some bits for one of the Advent calendars and I'm really excited to start assembling them. So yeah, I feel like we're winning. We're winning, guys. I'm confident we'll be done before Christmas and before the start of December, actually, for the bulk of these. So, yeah, I'll catch you up soon.
I decided to go with a pleated advent calendar. I feel that this style is more traditional and would also be a quicker one to do. Lesson learned, pleats take forever. What should have taken like 5-10 minutes took me, without an exaggeration, probably about half an hour to an hour before I was happy with the spacing of the pleats. Assembly from there was really easy. This is a non-fray fabric, so I just stitched up the sides, measured out the pockets to sew up columns to get them secured in, and then just glued down the numbers, and I was really happy with this. By this point I'd finally finished all of the cross stitching for the Merry Christmas one, and I'm really pleased with how the little letters came out. My next task was just to trim everything down to about roughly the same size, and then I sort of took off the sort of edge rows to give a nice sort of frayed edge to each of the pieces. After that I just used the glue gun again and glued them down onto some nice felt, and then trimmed everything once again down to size before attaching these to the actual advent calendar itself. I have to laugh though, because I am running out of ways now to express how happy I am with how these things have turned out. This one in particular absolutely matched the vision I had in my head for it.
So this calendar we've actually filled with little bunny treats. I've got a friend who's got 2 little house rabbits, and it's their first Christmas, so we've got some bunny treats in this one. And I'm going to set up the next one, which is I think it says a lot about my friends when I'm buying teas to put into their advent calendars. And then I've got this big tub of leftover sweets from Halloween, so all of the stockings are going to get a bunch of those in it, and I'm going to put some in some of the advent calendars too. Heyo! It's been a hot minute since I last did an outtake, and the reason for that is that I don't have a nice little outro for you guys. My stockings are hidden away, waiting for their moment to shine by the fireplace, and the advent calendars are giving a little bit of joy each day for their intended recipients. So I don't have anything to show, which is actually kind of the point for Christmas gifts, and I'm really pleased with that. I've put a good dent in my Christmas stash, although there's still a lot to go through, so any suggestions for other Christmas things to make, please pop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from it. But I've rambled on long enough on this video, so I will bid you all adieu and have a lovely Christmas, a fabulous Yule, or whatever it is you celebrate, and I'll see you all in the new year.